Delicious food and hot drinks are a camping must, so having a reliable stove that you enjoy using is key. There are lots of excellent stoves on the market to make your culinary adventures a success, but not all camp chefs have the same needs. We'll help you narrow the choices down to the stove that's perfect for you. In this video, we are going to review the top 5 best camping stoves. We made the list based on their popularity, quality, price, durability, user opinion, and more. To see more information and the most up-to-date prices, check out the links in the description below. Number 5. Stansport Outfitters Series Propane Stove. The Stansport Outfitters Series Propane Stove is a unique 3-burner camping stove that quickly became one of our favorites. It was the most powerful of our tabletop stoves, with two 25,000 BTU end burners and one 10,000 BTU central burner. Despite its more powerful burners, it fell just a few seconds behind the Camp Chef Everest in all of our boil tests, most likely because camping cookware sits slightly higher above the burners. Trying to use pots on all 3 burners at once felt pretty crowded. We often cook with a cast iron grill pan, but getting even heat across a large pan on a typical camping stove is virtually impossible. The Stansport's 3-burner design was absolutely perfect for that, while still leaving enough room for a pot on the other burner. The Stansport's simmer and fine-tuned temperature control felt on par with our top pick. We could easily dial it down to a low setting without it accidentally shutting off. We needed to make only minimal adjustments during our simmer test. The Stansport's durable metal latches shut securely, and its carrying handle is much more comfortable to use than the Camp Chef Everest's. Our only complaints were that the auto ignition knob could be difficult to turn, and we were disappointed that the burners seemed a little underpowered for their stated 25,000 BTU output. This stove was very close to our top pick in terms of its performance, and we slightly preferred the Stansport's design and overall construction. Especially if you cook complex meals with lots of ingredients or like to cook with larger pans, the Stansport's 3-burner design is a great addition to your camping gear. Number 4. BioLite Camp Stove 2. Wood-burning stoves are becoming more popular, and the BioLite Camp Stove 2 is a unique take on the idea. The attached battery powers a small fan which controls the flame levels and recharges itself with heat from the fire. It's a cool concept, but how did it hold up to actual use? We found ourselves firing this up more often than we'd initially expected, using it for everything from morning camp coffee to an afternoon snack. We never thought we'd describe a camping stove as fun, but that's exactly what the BioLite is. When it came to any serious cooking, though, we preferred the functionality and control of traditional camping stoves. As a wood-burning stove, the BioLite can take some time to get going. If you have plentiful dry tinder and sticks available, you can have it roaring in 5 minutes or so. In less ideal conditions, or when you're still learning to use it, it can be a frustrating 15 to 20-minute ordeal before you're ready to start cooking. This stove is also guaranteed to turn the bottom of any pot black with soot. We could typically get about an hour and a half of burn time out of the stove before it filled up with ash and needed to be emptied and relit. Not too shabby, that was more than enough time for all the cooking we needed to do. The battery was about half charged out of the box, and we rarely had to recharge it in a wall socket or with a portable battery charger. The stove generated enough power to keep its battery continually charged as long as we didn't siphon off too much energy to charge phones or run the fan on high continually. The 3-watt USB charger was able to give a phone about a 5% boost in 15 minutes. It can also power the BioLite's included FlexLight. A wood-burning camping stove is not as fast or convenient as gas-fueled stoves. That being said, we were impressed with how well the BioLite camp stove worked and how fun it was to use. We wouldn't choose it as our main camping stove or rely on it as our main source of power, but it's not a bad addition to your camping gear. Number 3. Coleman Triton Propane Stove. The Coleman Triton is a slightly pricier model than the Coleman Classic, with improved temperature control and a slightly higher heat output. The two 11,000 BTU burners boiled water in around 4.5 minutes, about a minute faster than the Coleman Classic. But it was still in the middle of the pack compared to the boil times of all the stoves we tested. The Triton was the surprise winner in our simmer test. It was the only stove that we could just turn to its lowest setting and forget it. It kept water hovering between 195 and 200 degrees with almost no adjustments. We also liked that this was slightly more compact than the other two burner stoves we tested, with a slim and streamlined design. If space is at a premium, this is a good pick. The windscreens are virtually identical to the Classic, so we think its poor performance in wind is due to its slim design, which leaves the burners sitting higher and more exposed to the wind. The poor wind resistance also negated its faster boil time and exceptional simmer function, unless we were cooking in extremely calm weather. Overall, we felt the Triton was mixed in its performance. It may fill a niche for someone who is budget-minded but wants more control than the Coleman Classic offers. Number 2. Camp Chef Explorer 2-Burner Stove. The Camp Chef Explorer is a serious stove for serious chefs. This thing blasts an incredible amount of heat and gives you a lot of control over cooking temperature. The amount of control that you have with the temperature knobs is incredible. Plus, you can open or shut the air vents to control the heat and quality of the flame, dialing it back to a concentrated and hot blue flame or up to a more dispersed yellow flame. While we love the ability to cook over extremely high heat and fine-tune the heat settings, this stove has a hard time maintaining a good simmer. It went out 4 times during our simmer test. We decided to perform our tests with this stove outside, rather than in the semi-controlled shed where we did the other tests, and we found that the low flame was easily extinguished by a light breeze. We suspect that in perfectly still air it would have a fantastic low setting, but we had a hard time getting it to work in practice. The lack of an auto ignition is another drawback, especially because the Explorer was basically impossible to relight without a long match or grill lighter. A typical camping lighter won't work that well with this stove. The burners are coated in black paint that burned off in the first few uses, producing a pretty awful smell and staining the bottoms of the pots we were using. It wasn't a major long-term issue, but it was definitely an unpleasant surprise the first couple times we fired up the stove. Some of the plastic knobs on the legs also arrived broken. This didn't have any effect on our ability to put the stove together, but we were disappointed to see an otherwise well-constructed stove use flimsy plastic components that broke so easily. The Explorer was the largest camping stove in our test. It takes up about twice as much space as the tabletop stoves we tested. Add in the fact that it draws fuel from a large propane tank, and it will quickly eat up a lot of space in your vehicle. Despite those flaws, this is a beast of a stove, and it's great for large groups or serious chefs. We even found ourselves breaking it out for home cookouts when our kitchen stove just didn't have the power or control we needed. Number 1. Coleman Classic Propane Stove. The Coleman Classic's low price point and durable design made it our best value pick. While it doesn't have the features or performance of our other award winners, it gets the job done. It can be found for cheap and is durable enough to last for years. The stove used for this test is a Coleman Classic that the author has owned and used regularly for over 3 years with no issues. The Coleman Classic finished toward the bottom in our tests, though. The two 10,000 BTU burners boiled water in 5.5 minutes, nearly the slowest of the 7 stoves we tested. The lack of an auto ignition was a minor drawback, especially because the design makes this stove difficult to light without a long grill lighter. It was also prone to shutting off while on its lowest setting, and we had a hard time controlling the temperature with anywhere near the precision of our other award winners. The windscreens provide some help against breezy campsites. However, the Coleman Classic only heated water to 184 degrees in our wind test, a far cry from boiling. Still, we've cooked many a delicious meal on this stove. If you're looking for a cheap camping stove that has all the features you need for camp cooking, it's hard to find a better value than this. Thanks for tuning in to our guide on the best camping stoves. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to our channel for more audio and tech reviews. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. If you have any questions or suggestions, leave them in the comments below. And as always, check out the description for links to the products mentioned in this video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.